Ever feel so stressed out at work that it actually affects how you work? Well, you're not alone. It's called burnout, and the World Health Organization is now recognizing it as a legitimate medical diagnosis. The condition is tied to chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. Here to discuss this new classification is Joni Ray, transformational coach and CEO and founder of the Mindset Group. Joni, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be back.
Pleasure to have you. So we've been hearing a lot about this story in the last 24 hours. What exactly is burnout, and how can you tell if someone is burned out?
Right. Well, burnout is two things. It's having internal pressure and external pressure. The internal pressure is that judgment that is constantly in our minds. Are we doing this right? Are we good enough? And that external pressure is that pressure we feel from family, friends, coworkers, bosses to perform.
Do you find this happening more among adults, or students feel the same type of stress?
In preparing for this interview, I'm talking to millennials, I'm talking to people of all ages, and all of your viewers, I would presume, have felt some sort of burnout one way or another. And it's finally coming mainstream full circle here. That burnout is not a new thing. It's just now coming to light. So there are pros and cons to the fact that we're talking about it now. I think the pro is that we can talk about what to do about burnout. And now finally people are getting the tools they need who are dealing with that burnout.
What are the symptoms of burnout?
The symptoms of burnout are the feeling of anxiety, isolation. People are feeling burnt out because they are not connected authentically with others. So there are a few ways to deal with this burnout. The first one, in the kind of common denominator, we need to find a way to manage our emotions. That anxiety, that stress is going to lead to burnout. It's going to lead to disease. And one tool that I teach my clients as a mindset coach is to quiet our mind. How many of us are taking a few minutes a day to meditate, to pray, to do whatever you need to do to quiet that mind? We don't do that enough. So it's something I really want to emphasize to all of your viewers, is to find that time daily to quiet that mind.
That is great advice, Joni. So is this only something people experience at work, or can this happen to, I don't know, a stay-at-home mom who just has a lot on her plate?
I coach a lot of stay-at-home moms and middle managers, as people who are pressured to perform in one way and another. They are constantly being looked at as the sole provider, whether they are a parent or they're pressured to perform at work. So this is most of your viewers, right? And so some of you might be asking, what am I supposed to do? I am burned out. What are some practical tips I can take on today? Well, some of us are really good about going to the physical gym to work out on our bodies, but what are we doing to quiet our minds? We need to have that same discipline that we have going to the gym. We need to have that daily routine of quieting your mind. I always say, first thing you wake up, avoid that phone. How many of us are guilty of looking at that phone first thing in the morning? We want to make sure we are quieting that mind first thing in the morning, giving thanks. I know it sounds really, really simple, but that gratitude and bringing it back to the basics on a daily kind of routine will make a huge difference.
So what could it mean for victims of burnout now that this has become an official medical diagnosis?
What does this mean for victims of, well, I'd say the power is in your hands. A lot of people I talk to feel like they're helpless. They feel like, woe is me, and I'm so stressed out at work and my boss is stressing me out. Well, I encourage you all, if you're feeling that way, to take a moment and ask yourself, what am I here for? What is my life purpose? Why do I even exist? What kind of difference do I want to make? Bring it back to the basics. If you're constantly focused on that burnout and not focused on that solution, then you're going to be stuck in that cycle of burnout. So take that first step in the right direction by just getting clear about what it is that you want to do, who do you want to be, and then take one step towards that.
All good advice. Joni Ray, transformational coach and CEO and founder of the Mindset Group. Joni, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.